Welcome back to Open. Well, President Trump's cabinet picks has definitely caused controversy within the government and across the United States, as both House Democrats are unhappy with the president's selection, including a censure of Senator Elizabeth Warren. Well, in order to break down the cabinet picks and the censure of Elizabeth Warren, we now welcome our political analyst, J.C. Polanco, who's also an associate professor at the Borough of Manhattan Community College, and Lee Bynes, owner of Retrovision Media, who's here with us and who has been here with us before. Welcome, gentlemen, back to the show. Let's talk about this here. As we are talking in the news of the day is possibly by the end of the day, Senator Jeff Sessions could be confirmed as Attorney General. It's believed that the Republican Party has enough to get it across the board, but we're seeing some very contentious voting and speaking. And JC, I'll give you a shot, your thoughts.
Oh, why not, right? This is, give me the ball, right? This is just an incredible time. I've never seen a vice president need to cast the deciding vote on a confirmation like we saw yesterday with now Secretary DeVos. I think that in the next couple of appointments and the next couple of confirmations, you're going to see a much closer vote, and you may require the vice president for a couple of these. I think that Senator Sessions will become Attorney General today. I think the votes are there for him. There are no Republicans leaving. As a matter of fact, you still have one Democratic U.S. Senator confirming that he will be voting for Senator Sessions. I think that's a done deal. I think that you're going to see the other nominees that are controversial, like Tom Price, that wants to lead HHS. I think he's going to get the votes necessary. Look, this is a win-win-win for Donald Trump all around. There has not been one pick that has fallen through, regardless of the controversy, regardless of experience, regardless of all the things that the Democrats continue to talk about. I think this is just a winning time for Donald Trump, and there's nothing else to say about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, yesterday the news overnight is, of course, talk about Senator Elizabeth Warren and the fact that she was censored on making a speech about Coretta Scott King and referencing Coretta Scott King, something we've never seen before, actually, in the Senate. Long story short, there's a lot of stuff that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, and you're going to see a lot more of it. And the simple reason is that the Republicans ran the table. So the Democrats are going to go to the Hill. They're going to make a lot of noise. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, they're standing out on the steps of the Capitol talking about, singing "We Shall Overcome." But the fact of the matter is, for the next 4 years, you will not overcome. The Senate they own the Senate, they own the House. That's just simply the way it is. Now, I am definitely not here to defend the Democrats. My reason for being here is for one reason only, is to kind of give these young people in the audience, because when I used to come here, my kids came through this place, is to kind of like let them know what's really going on. Because right now, this conversation that we're having, we're asking all the wrong questions. All the wrong questions.
So what questions do we ask?
Well, we need to first determine how we got here, how we got to this point, this predicament that America is in right now. And the only way to address that and figure out is like, well, how we got here is because we got here with a two-party system. We got here in a situation where it's either this or it's that. There is no other. And until you solve the problem of the two-party system, this is the way it'll always be. When the Democrats are in control, it's their fault. It's their fault. So what moving forward, what these young people need to do, and all of the people who consider themselves a Democrat, what they all need to do is to figure out how can we build a new, robust third, fourth, or fifth party in this country to address the needs of everybody.
And let me talk about this, JC. As you talk about party lines, obviously we know that they're voting across party lines. You talked about it today, possibly one lone Democrat jumping over and talking about Senator Jeff Sessions confirming, voting in affirmation of him. With the Republican Party being able to, quote unquote, run the table as we see, obviously we knew that if President Trump was elected, these things would occur.
Yeah, and I spoke about it here before. If the Republicans win every House in the Congress and the presidency will eventually control the judiciary, I think elections have consequences, and I think everything that Donald Trump promised during his campaign, you're going to see coming to fruition. What's interesting is that there were some safeguards. For example, if President Trump wanted his nominee to sit on the Supreme Court, he needs 60 votes. That was the agreement that the Senate struck so that the minority has a voice. And because it's a lifetime position, the senators agreed that it would take 60 votes. But there's always one option. It's called the nuclear option. The nuclear option requires the Senate majority to call the rules off that allow for a senator just to continue talking over and over and over again until the people just give up. If they decide to break that rule, all the president would need is 51 votes in the U.S. Senate, and he'd be able to confirm his Supreme Court nominee. But as you had just mentioned, I think that he's going to run the table with anything that requires 51 votes, everything. And you're going to see the next nominees get 51 votes. I think the Democrats' only last stand in the next 4 years will be, do they stop the Supreme Court nominee coming in to take over the Justice Scalia seat?
Let me bring you back in on this one, Lee. Talk about Betsy DeVos, Secretary of Education, confirmed yesterday, and the Vice President, of course, casting the tie-breaking vote. Never seen that before in history. What can we expect by way of public education with Betsy DeVos as the head?
From what I know of her background and the fact that she's a major advocate for literally privatizing education with school vouchers and different things like that. A woman who's never spent one day in public school, a woman her kids didn't go to public school. This woman is a billionaire. How this person could look at the lives that we everyday people live and understand that, it's difficult to say. So moving forward, yeah, she did get confirmed. It was a historic event in order to do it. But again, for the next 4 years, until something is changed or we figure out a way to change our predicament or the circumstance, this is what you got. And that, the reason why that's so frightening is because that will erode the teachers' unions. One of the few unions left in the United States that still can hang on outside of the police, firefighter, safety type of things. There is no unions to speak of in this country. And if you break that union and you privatize the educational system, there's no guarantee whatsoever that the education that will be provided will be any better than what it is right now, but it'll be funneled into the hands of private industry.
But this is the thing. The thing is that President Trump campaigned on a message of school vouchers and privatizing public education for a form of efficiency. He talked about it over and over again. The people voted for him. The Electoral College voted for him. He won the election. So he now thinks that because he won the election, just think logically, guys. He won the election on a message, so he's going to appoint people that agree with his message. This lady, as unqualified as she is, and I've been very vocal about her, she got confirmed, and guess what she's going to be talking about for the next 4 years? Vouchers, charter schools, and privatizing schools. Now, that's the reality. I know that a lot of people are upset about it, but that's the election result. So we were just talking earlier about how did we get here. There are many reasons why we got here. It could be the fact that there's only two parties. It could also be the fact that the Democratic Party is officially now a regional party. And they have to really change their message if they want to be a viable second party nationwide. If the Democratic Party continues focusing their attention on sanctuary cities and immigration, it's a sure losing message. And you're going to lose the elections in 2018. You for sure will lose in 2020. It's about time they change the message, understand what the American people wanted in this last election cycle, and compete for those votes in 2018. Because if not, the Republican Party is going to control every house for the next, 16 years. If you think I'm kidding, I'm looking at the Electoral College. I see no difference. I see Trump winning re-election, and Mike Pence is next, just waiting. So I think in order for the Democrats to be a viable party, they really need to change their message and look for younger candidates.
Stay with us. Coming up after the break, we'll continue our conversation with our political analyst. After the break, we're going to discuss President Trump, low approval ratings. What does it mean for the president? And then also the threat to those senators that go against the president, talking about he will gut their career. What does that mean? We'll talk about that when we return.